Hello everybody, how you all doing today? Spiral Gamer here, coming at you all with yet another Magic the Gathering deck profile, which has been quite some time since we've done another deck profile. Now, as you guys know, when I do my Magic the Gathering deck profiles, I normally have this deck a little bit more Dragon focused for obvious reasons, but what's interesting about this deck profile right here is that this deck profile will actually have no dragons, and yes, that's actually shocking to hear. This will be a red-white Boros burn deck profile right here. Now, I have always wanted to put together a burn deck for quite some time besides just dragons right here, and I've always caught the idea of having a burn deck does seem really interesting, but I thought the idea of I didn't think of the idea, excuse me. But then on my way of picking up a burn deck, some of my guys were messing around with some red whites and all that such, and with their help a little bit, they helped me put together this deck right here, and this was a very interesting Rather deck right here. Right here, it still is burn like well burn deck should do, while also give you a little bit of board control as well, which is something that most mono red decks normally lack on. Now, I might prefer mono red, but red white definitely seems a lot of fun to do. There's a lot of cool things you can do with red white, and I'll definitely explain what you can do with this deck right here once we get on straight into deck profile right now. So I'll explain my tech choices on what we're trying to do right here. As usual, for those of you all who are just here at NetDeck, I did leave the deck list in the description down below for those of you all who are just here at NetDeck. I only ask that you drop a like on your way out. It means a lot to me. It's very appreciative. And with that being said, let's move on straight into the deck profile right now, shall we? Alright, so normally when I do my Magic the Gathering deck profiles, I normally start with the creatures first before we move on to instants, sorceries, and enchantments. But this instants, sorceries, enchantments, as we all know, normally puts in more work than the creatures do when it comes to a burn deck. So we'll start with the instants, sorceries, enchantments first. So for the instants, sorceries, enchantments, and all that such. Start off with, of course, 4 copies of Lightning Helix. This is like the go-to card that you play for this deck right here. For mere red and white, you can burn 3 damage to target creature or player, and also give yourself 3 life. So not only does what's supposed to do burns whatever you want to try to burn out, but also it gives you the opportunity advantage to also replenish some life as well, which is something that not too often mono red normally does on occasion basis, which is really good. Next up, we play 4 copies of Boros Charm. Boros Charm is a really nice card in general. It definitely has 3 effects. For only cost of a red and white, you have 3 effects on this card. Of course, you only pick one of them, but they're all really good depending on the situation. You can either do 4 damage to target player. You can either give all your permanents its indestructibility until end of turn, or you can target one of your creatures to gain double strike until end of turn. You actually are playing some interesting creatures in particular, which can utilize the last ability very well, which I'll show you very shortly in the creature lineup. But most of the time, we normally use it for just a burn ability, because obviously, again, this is a burn deck. But having the other 2 options built into the card as well definitely makes this deck a little bit more interesting. Definitely gives this deck some nice variety of options in case you really do need to do some more board control from there on such, especially if things get out of hand when you need to give your creatures temporarily indestructibility, especially when you're trying to block off attacks. Okay, next up for the instance, we have the 4 copies of Skullcrack. Skullcrack is just a really nice card in general. Not only allows me to deal 3 damage to the player, but it also gives me the advantage to pretty much prevent my opponent from gaining any type of life gain. So again, it's very great for a burn deck right here, because again, not only allows you to deal 3 damage to the player, but also prevents him doing life gaining. So your opponent activates the ability with a gain like a crap ton of life, whatever such. You can just activate this response. Be like, no, not only you're taking 3 to the face for no reason, well, not for no reason. Not only you're taking 3 to the face, but you're not gonna gain that life. Nah, boo boo. You're still taking damage whether you like it or not. So Skullcrack is just really nice for those kind of ratios or scenarios. Excuse me. And then next up, we have the 4 copies of Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt, no explanation with this card right here. This is a burn, especially considering the fact that this deck is a burn deck. So obviously, in a modern deck, you're definitely going to see Lightning Bolt in a modern burn deck, of course. Speaking of burns, we're playing 4 copies of Lava Spike. Lava Spike is not a bad card, actually. For 1 red, 3 damage to target creature, which is actually a very useful ability. So, of course, more burn. Can't go wrong with more burn. And then last for the instance, we play 2 copies of Flames of the Blood Hand. Really nice card for a cost of 3. Just like Skullcrack, it also gives you the ability to prevent any life gain as well. Not life gain, excuse me. It has a nice ability where damage by this card can be prevented, and that player would gain life this turn. That player gains no life instead, and of course it does 3 damage to, not 3 damage, 4 damage to target player. Which is definitely a very nice useful ability in general right here. So it's been pretty good as of late right now, to the point where I've actually contemplated potentially taking out. Oh wait, actually no, I won't take a Skullcrack. No, it's better than Skullcrack, but requires 1 additional mana. So that's why we're playing 4 Skullcrack, but we're playing. But yeah, we're only playing 2 copies of the Flames of the Bloodhand. So, very useful card, does more damage, and of course, just like Skullcrack, it also does burning and also prevents life gain as well. And that is it for the instants. Now for the sorceries. The only sorcery we're playing with this deck right here. This is trying. Oh, actually, no. I'm sorry. No. I just remembered that Lava Spike is sorcery. I'm sorry. So sorcery. So Lava Spike and this other card I'm about to show you are the only 4 cards. Are the only 2 cards in the entire deck we're playing with that sorcery speed. So Lava Spike, the only sorcery we're playing is 4 copies of Collective Defiance. Collective Defiance is just a very nice, interesting card. It does have a nice ability for only 2 red and any mana. You get to do one of the 3 things, but it has Escalate. So if you want to tap additional land, for every 1 additional land, you get additional choice. So you can use all 3 choices potentially. Commonly, I prefer just 2 of those choices because they're both really good, but the option to draw more is very useful in case you really need it. What it does is you have 3 choices. You can either make target player discard his or her entire hand, and then that player redraws the entire hand. You can deal 4 damage to target creature, or you can deal 3 damage to target opponent. So for 4 mana, you can deal the 3 damage to your opponent and 4 damage to one of your opponent's creatures right off the bat, which is definitely a very useful ability in general. The redraw ability is pretty good. It has come in handy. It's not the most useful ability, but it's great. That's definitely still there, which makes Collective Defiance very more useful, more versatile, and while having the ability to Massive Burn as well, it is definitely a very great useful card in general. Wish it was an instant, but it's a sorcery, so what do we do? What can you do? And that is it for the sorceries, and yeah, that's it for instants and sorceries. The only enchantment we're playing is 3 copies of Oblivion Ring. I definitely do plan on picking up 1 more copy of this card right here, because this card is definitely very useful. It's bailed me out a lot of jams as of late. For those of you who do not know what this card does, you exile a target non-land permanent, and as long as the card is facing the field, that target stays exiled. But this card goes away by any way, your opponent will get that permanent back. It's a very useful card in general. It definitely gets over those annoying. It gets over creatures. It gets over other annoying enchantments, and it also gets around annoying other artifacts in general. Anything that's not a land that's annoying you. This card is just a really great out and really great answer to those types of cards right here. And I cannot tell you how useful this card has been as of late. So as soon as I get the wow. I can't speak English today. As soon as I get the money, I'll definitely pick up another copy of Oblivion Ring in the sideboard. And that is it for the instants, sorceries, and the enchantments. Now, finally, the creatures. For the creatures, we have, of course, 4 copies of Guttersnipe. This is a burn deck, so of course we're going to see Guttersnipe in a deck like this right here. And what's really nice about this card right here is that with him not being a legendary, when I first got into Magic, I thought he was a legendary, but nope, he's not a legendary, which is great, because you can have more than 1 of these guys on board together, which is just hilarious, because every time you play instant or sorcery, you can deal 2 damage to your opponent. So, more burn to your opponent as you speed up the process here and there, because now and then you will end up using your instants to burn out your opponent's creatures instead of your opponent himself, which is unfortunate, because you prefer going for the opponent instead, of course. But thankfully, Guttersnipe helps you make up for that, because Guttersnipe can just allow you to just make up for that and do some more burning to your opponent as well, which is just a very nice versatile card in general. And the next set, we play 4 copies of a new card I'm just recently trying out, which is just amazing right now. 4 copies of Kiln Fiend. Forgive me if I botched the name up wrong. Kiln Fiend is just a really nice, gorgeous card. It only requires 1 red, 1 colorless. It's 1/2, but its ability makes him really beastly, no pun intended. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Kiln Fiend gets +3/+0 till end of turn. So if you play, like, let's say only one instant or sorcery, he's a 4/2, which is pretty good for a 2-drop. But if you play, let's say, at least 2 instant or sorceries during the turn while you got this guy going on the board, this dude right off the bat can become a 7/2 right off the top. So if you're using up your instant sorceries, just like Guttersnipe, if you're forced to use your instant sorceries to go after the opponent's creatures, no problem. This guy becomes instantly huge right off the bat. And then let's say you use up 3 instant sorceries, and you clear your opponent's board. This guy becomes a 10/2, and you can just swing at your opponent with 10 damage right in the face, right out of nowhere, which is just ridiculous what you can do with Kiln Fiend right here and such. The only thing that sucks about Kiln Fiend right here is his toughness does go up, so meaning that he can easily be killed by just a minor shock or a lightning bolt. So that's something you gotta watch out for when you're playing this guy right here. But when you use him right, he goes in there for massive damage. And speaking of massive damage, another card that helps you clear your opponent's creatures while you're doing your job of doing the massive board is this beautiful guy right here. And that is 4 copies of Firedancer. For those of you who do not know what Firedancer does, he's a 1/1, so he can easily be killed by practically almost anything. 1 red and 1 of any color. But his ability is just amazing. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell you control deals damage to an opponent, Firedancer deals that much damage to target creatures that player controls. So let's say your opponent has a 6/6 on the board, and you want to get rid of that 6/6, and you have 2 lightning bolts. You use the 2 lightning bolts to, of course, deal 6 damage to your opponent. Guess what? This guy is also going to deal 6 damage total to a target creature your opponent controls. So you remember that 6/6 that's giving you a hard time? Guess what? Use this guy's ability. Target that 6/6 every time you use a lightning bolt on your opponent, and this guy can snipe off that 6/6 right off the bat, leaving your opponent clear off 4 less powerful creatures have, while also still giving you the access power to stick with what you're trying to do and still continue on to burn out your opponent. And that's it for... Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. There's one more creature left. The last creature we're playing right here is 1 copy of Chandra, Kaladesh. Again, I apologize if I botched up her name. This card is just really nice. I wish she wasn't a legendary, or else I'd be playing one more of her. I might bump her up to 1 more regardless, but she is because she is that good of a card. What she does is every time you cast a red spell, you can untap her automatically while she's tapped. So you can untap her when she's untapped. So really great for when you're playing. If you're attacking with her and then you play something right at the bat, you can untap her, worst case scenario, so you can use her as a blocker if you really need to. But you mostly use her for, obviously, her second ability. Her second ability is anytime during your turn, during your main phase, you can tap her to burn 1 damage to target player. Then, if 3 damage total was inflicted to your opponent by using this card's ability alone, you can immediately flip her into a planeswalker, which I'll flip her very shortly what she looks like. So let's say you have 2 lightning bolts, right, in your hand. So before you play a lightning bolt, use her ability, flip her, or not flip her, tap her, burn 1 damage to your opponent, play a lightning bolt on something, she's untapped thanks to her ability, use her second ability again, tap her again, do another 1 damage to your opponent. Then you play lightning bolt, your second lightning bolt, 3 damage to your opponent, let's say for example. Then her ability will go off, untap her again, then use her second ability 1 more time to tap her, turn her into, not tap her, use her ability to do damage. Wow, I can't speak English. Use her ability to deal a 3rd damage to your opponent. Hey, guess what? You dealt 3 damage to your opponent. So guess what? Her ability, it now kicks off. Will you now get to flip her into a planeswalker? And that's what happens when you use her ability. And her planeswalker abilities are all really good. Her +1 ability allows you to deal 2 damage to target opponent, so which is really good. -2, you can pretty much shock a creature, which is not bad. But her emblem ability is just amazing. When you -7, you can have her deal 6 damage to each opponent. Each player dealt damage this way gets an emblem at beginning of your upkeep. This emblem deals 3 damage to you. So that means during each of your opponent's upkeeps, they will take 3 damage to face, while already taking 6 damage prior before getting the emblem. So by the time you're activating the 3rd ability, you practically guarantee yourself the game right there, which is just amazing right there. which is why I've actually thought about bumping up to one more per deck right there. And that is it for the main deck. Now for the lands. For the lands, we are playing some lands right here. We're playing 4 copies of Inspiring Vantage. It comes with battlefield tapped unless you control two or less fewer other lands until we first bring it out. So if you're playing this early game on, this can be untapped immediately, so you can start making plays very easily, very faster, and it can be tapped for red and blue or red and white, which is really good. Next up, we played 3 copies of Needle Spires. It comes in tapped. It can be tapped for red or white. It does have a nice ability where it can bust out a 2/1 red or white elemental creature, which is fine, I guess. I mean, it's nice to have a nice option about that. I don't really often do that, but it's nice to have that as an option right there. And then next up, we played 4 copies of Battlefield Forge. It's not a bad card, but once I pick up the other 2 copies of this card right here, it will be taken out for this copy. It will take out the Battle Forges very shortly, I can definitely guarantee you. And for the rest of the lands, we're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mountains, and only 3 plains, because there's not really too much white as of right now, so you don't really need that many plains right now. This is a more red focused burn deck, so of course there's going to be more mountains than white right now. And yeah, guys, that right there was my Boros red and white burn deck profile. It's definitely a work in progress. I'll definitely be working out what other flaws the deck has, and hopefully the deck definitely becomes a lot more effective once I work out flaws. If you guys like this video so much, if you guys want, I will show you all a mono red build. It's not burn deck. It will be not a burn deck like this right here, but the only difference between the 2 builds is that deck profile will be a mono red, whereas this one, as you guys recently just saw, will be a just red and white build right there as such. Now the sideboard is still a work in progress. I definitely do plan on picking up some more white cards for sideboard reasons, so I can have answers to those annoying hate cards, but I do love the deck regardless, and it is just lots of fun to play. So with that being said, thank you all again so much for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next video, and I'm out. Bye. Peace.